10. Harley-Davidson motorcycles that defined an era. In the 120 years of Harley-Davidson, it has managed to become one of the leaders in the growth of motorcycle industry, as well as one of the most recognizable brands in the world. Since its inception in 1903, there have been hundreds of models exiting the Harley-Davidson factory that would go on to define key points throughout its history. Some were duds and had a very short life expectancy. Some had a decent run before being discontinued. But there have also been several specific models that managed to strike a chord with customers and would remain in production for many years to come. Some were Sportsters that fueled some riders' needs for a lightweight and nimble bike capable of a lot of power. Others were laid-back cruisers that catered to riders' desire to relax, unplug, and take in the ride. Some were touring bikes that allowed riders to embark on long-distance road trips, make memories with friends, and have themselves a different kind of vacation that involved them ruling the highway. There have been all kinds of bikes through the ages that served as era-defining models throughout Harley's ongoing lifetime. So let's take a close look at some specific models that really helped put Harley-Davidson on the map. Number 1, the Dino Series. Produced from 1991 to 2017. For anyone that began riding Harley-Davidsons in the last 30 years, you can best believe that we are going to talk about the Dyna family. These cruisers first made their debut off the assembly line in 1991 and remained vital to the brand's lineup for 26 years before they were discontinued in 2017. These bikes were a huge part of Harley-Davidson's legacy, as they helped make medium-sized cruisers some of the most in-demand bikes on the market due to them being fun, affordable, and fully open to personal customization. Not to mention that the Dyna was the platform for many models that remain in production today, such as the Street Bob, Fat Bob, and Lowrider S. Despite no longer being in production, Dynas are still very much in demand on the used bike market, and they generally do not last long once they arrive at the showroom floor. Number 2, the Heritage. Produced from 1991 to 2017, for a motorcycle to live up to its namesake, the Heritage is a model that has managed to encapsulate all things classic Harley-Davidson since when it first arrived in 1986, serving as a visual throwback to what would be known as Harley-Davidson's old-school days of the 60s and 70s. The Heritage brought style, comfort, and attitude to the mainstream through its medium-sized softail frame, generous use of chrome, floorboards, engine guards, a very comfortable saddle, and heavily studded saddlebags that looked like something out of a Judas Priest album. Suited for riding of every sort, there is no environment in which the Heritage cannot thrive. It can excel on local cruises, busy city streets, and long-distance touring. It has been Harley-Davidson's reliable Swiss Army knife, and it continues to be in production to this day. Number 3, the Flathead. Produced from 1929 to 1936. One of Ford's most iconic vehicles that it ever produced was the iconic Model T. For Harley-Davidson, the Flathead would be the motorcycle equivalent of the company's early days of American engineering. First introduced in the early 1920s, the Flathead engine was the beating heart of several Harley-Davidson models like the Model WS Flat Twin. Thanks to its reliable durability, it was also the foundation for many military-issue motorcycles used during World War II. These days, collectors and enthusiasts appreciate this bike for its contributions to the history and roots of Harley-Davidson, its pristine craftsmanship and cultural turning point for the motorcycling industry as a whole. Certainly an impressive model that is highly revered among motorcyclists of every kind. Number 4, the Knucklehead. Produced from 1936 to 1947. Originally, it was called the EL model, but it soon earned the name Knucklehead after the V-twin engine that it used during its production from 1936 to 1947. Visually, the Knucklehead is a blast from the past, from the real retro days of classic Americana. Even though the release of this bike set itself to be a big turning point in Harley-Davidson's trajectory, it did have a bit of a rough start. Because Harley was in such a rush to produce as many of these bikes as possible at its initial release, it resulted in oil leaks and minor malfunctions. It wasn't until some fine-tuning that allowed the Knucklehead to be one of Harley-Davidson's most reliable mass-produced models at the time. Number 5, the Panhead. Produced from 1947 to 1965, the Panhead is known for being the sequel to the Knucklehead. Much like its predecessor, the Panhead embodies all things that would be considered classic Harley-Davidson. The Panhead earned its moniker thanks to the pan-shaped valve covers on its engine. Running from 1948 to 1965, Panheads were the next major marker for motorcycle powertrains, as well as the turning point for all future Harley-Davidson models. Adopting a similar methodology as muscle cars, the Panhead's design was meant to be as stripped down as possible, all while producing as much power as it could. Even though they have been long out of production, they are still a big deal among collectors and enthusiasts. And in the rare chance that someone decides to take one out to a rally, you can be sure it would be hogging all the attention. Number 6, the Road King. Produced from 1991 to present. These days, Harley-Davidson's touring class is probably its most popular family among customers. Any dealership will have a significant amount of space on the showroom floor dedicated to touring bikes, and we can owe a lot of that to the foundation of this family, the Road King. First arriving in 1994, the Road King embodies everything that anyone looking to pursue a long-range road trip could want: comfort, power, and convenience. Because this large bike is built on a big touring frame, it is designed to take on more weight than Sportsters and Softails, making them more comfortable for one or two riders. Not to mention that the Road King comes with floorboards, forward controls, a large touring saddle, detachable windshield, and a pair of hard saddlebags for plenty of storage. With touring and comfort on the minds of many riders, it is no surprise to anyone to see the Road King pave the way for the rest of the touring models. Number 7, the Sportster S. Produced from 2021 to present. Although the Sportster S is the newest production model on this list, it is nonetheless a huge marker in Harley-Davidson's trajectory. Nothing like previous Sportster models, the Sportster S is more fixated on power and technological prowess. When it first debuted in 2021, the Sportster S was a big deal to the next generation of riders that are very tech-savvy, but also adore the big amounts of torque produced by the Revolution Max 1250T engine. Aside from being able to accelerate 0 to 60 mph in 3.4 seconds, this bike also comes with a Bluetooth infotainment console with turn-by-turn navigation, music, multiple ride modes, and all-digital instrumentation. Clearly not your grandfather's Sportster. If anything, the Sportster S is a reimagining of a classic bike for a new generation of riders. Number 8, the Fatboy. Produced from 1991 to present. We can all give Arnold Schwarzenegger's role in Terminator 2. Judgment Day, a huge round of thanks for elevating the Fatboy for being the ultimate muscle bike that oozes machismo. First arriving in 1991, the Fatboy is known as one of Harley-Davidson's most popular models among motorcyclists and normal civilians. This low-profile cruiser looked like if a Harley went to the gym. It's got a 5-gallon fuel tank, floorboards, forward controls, solid drum wheels, and giant steamroller tires. Definitely one of Harley-Davidson's most solid cruisers. The Fatboy sets itself apart from the rest of the Softail lineup as one of the most recognizable models that remains in production today. Because even if you have never ridden a Fatboy before, you can feel the masculinity emanating off this bike. Number 9, the XR 750. Produced from 1970 to 2008. For those that remember, Harley-Davidson had a prominent role in the racing scene, with the XR 750 being the top choice of motorcycle among many riders. Lightweight, durable, very maneuverable, and powered by a 748cc air-cooled V-twin engine, the XR 750 had enough riding potential to reach a top speed 115 mph, which was very impressive for bikes being produced in the 1970s. Able to thrive on both the flat track and the dirt track, this motorcycle would often be the first one to reach the finish line. Even the AMA recognized it as the most successful racing motorcycle in its history, and it was also the bike of choice by the world-famous daredevil Evel Knievel until his final stunt in 1977. For a bike that celebrates Harley's racing roots, the XR750 holds a special place in the brand's history. Lastly, the Sportster. Produced from 1957 to present as the Sportster S. If there was one Harley-Davidson that had a massive impact on the motorcycling world, it has got to be the legendary Sportster. First arriving in 1957, Harley has been producing the Sportster for over 50 years. What makes this bike so iconic is because of its affordability, universal appeal among riders of all experience levels, its user-friendly handling, and how it was able to pack a lot of power in a small package without overwhelming the rider. The Sportster would continue to evolve over the decades to deliver even more displacement, and it even saw an upgrade to a 5-speed transmission in 1991. These days, the Sportster lives on as the aforementioned Sportster S, which would make its early predecessors proud for being the most powerful and most technologically advanced model in its history.